welcome to our 12th show. I'm really, really delighted. We have a brilliant guest here today that will be speaking about his experiences in the Labour Party and beyond. So I'm going to pass over now to Mizan. How are you, Mizan, and what have you been up to?
Hi, hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I've been good. So just had the in the weekend just performed at the Kill the Bill demo in Parliament Square, which was great. And apart from that, as you just mentioned, I'm in the Labour Party, so we're just doing the local campaigning and just making sure that our area at least has a strong kind of Labour kind of presence. But what's more important is to make sure that the Labour Party sticks true to its principles and its values, and and make sure that it's a members led, grassroots orientated party that is thoroughly anti-racist,
Mm.
but also internationalist as well at the same time. So just trying to juggle kind of those things because, as you
Mm.
know, and I'm sure we'll discuss this later. There's a lot of internal politics going on, and I don't know about you, but for us, like it's just a struggle to survive, really, in the Labour
Mm.
Party. But we don't want to survive. We want to thrive, and we want to make sure that the Labour Party instills progressive values and progressive ideas that won't just benefit us, but benefit our society, the country, and the world. So just been doing some campaigning, but also as a creative, I've got my creative juices on. I want to write some stuff as well. So get some spoken word tracks out there that will kind of, in a way, kind of not just describe what's going on to invisible people who have been invisibilized by the system, but also instill ideas about how to make things better for everyone as well. So that's about it, really, in a gist.
Yeah, thank you for that. So you've brought up the Labour Party. So could you tell us how you got involved with the Labour Party and what got you into activism as well, mate?
Okay, so those are two different things. I got active, like I would say, like near my journey towards activism started like 15 years ago. In fact, I would say when I was in high school, because I just remembered feeling so disempowered and disillusioned by the education system in high school. Obviously, I don't know what it's like now, but back then you were doing your GCSEs, your maths, your science, and all that kind of stuff. But I remember coming, like, if you look at 97, 98, I remember coming home and watching CNN and watching the news and finding out what's going on all around the world and not having things explained properly. And I remember, like, as a teenager, I was thinking, they should teach this stuff in high school because if education is supposed to prepare you about what's going on in the world, then we need to know about these things that are going on. And unfortunately, I felt so disillusioned by the education system. I felt like I was in a factory just going through the process. And I remember in college when 9/11 happened, and there was a whole kind of there was a lot of stuff going on afterwards. There was suddenly people like me, like from my community on TV, you had shows like Mama, I'm a Muslim now, all these kind of things. Whereas that represent that kind of visualization of us wasn't there before. But at the same time, it's like a lot more people were starting to become kind of politically aware about what was going on. And that kind of started my curiosity, let's put it that way, my curiosity into what's going on around the world. However, no one teaches you, like, look, if you're curious about something, no one tells you where to go. No one tells you, like, where the relevant sources of information are for you to kind of understand how the system works. So I remember still having this feeling of disillusionment, and the second intifada happened in Palestine. And that was one issue that I did not have any information about. I did not know what was going on. And I remember at that time, one of the major newscasters actually covering the kind of second uprising, but saying that or implying that it was a religious problem. It wasn't a problem of anything else. It was people of the Abrahamic faiths can't get along. And because I was so kind of disillusioned and not educated about what was going on, I kind of fell for it. I was like, yeah, you know what? Religious people can't get along. But so I kept on having this feeling. But and then when I got to university, you had the Danish cartoons controversy happen, where the newspaper, one of the newspapers in Denmark, posted some cartoons about the Prophet Muhammad or something, and the whole world just kind of erupted. Like literally, the whole world just kind of erupted. And I just remember thinking, you know what, I need to get myself politically educated, because I feel like we're pawns in a chess game. So I remember going to my first Waterstones, like my bookstore in Harrow, and I went to the political section. I just picked up all the whatever political books I can find, and I just bought them. And thank God that the first book I picked up was Understanding Power by Noam Chomsky, because that was a selection of his speeches, but that explained a lot. And in the speeches, he explained about Palestine, like how it was about settler colonialism and colonization. And that kind of, it's like when something ticks in your mind. That I'm like, oh, this is what it's about. So I started educating myself, and then independently educating myself politically, just by reading books, starting to read, listening to the lectures. And then what happened was you had the attacks on Gaza happen, Operation Cast Lead. And I decided to get involved in a lot of kind of political campaigning for Palestine. And that's where my activism started to happen, because you get to meet a lot of like-minded individuals. You get to find out more. I got involved in, basically not just issues related to Palestine, but anti-war activism as well, and also campaign against the arms trade. So I was I was already in campaigning and involved in activism. However, my socialist and my anti-racist learning was still taking its time, because to understand the complexes of anti-racism and anti-imperialism, these things take time to learn. You have to engage with the knowledge bases, and you have to see things differently and watch different stuff. So I was constantly learning in those 15 years, and I'm still learning now. And then that kind of led onto the Labour Party. So what happened in the Labour Party? I joined the Labour Party from being a Green Party member in 2016. Now, basically, the Labour Party prior to Jeremy Corbyn's election, I could not see it apart from anything else apart from Tony Blair. That's how I visioned the Labour Party, under the shadow of Tony Blair. I saw it as a party that was responsible for the Iraq War, like for its party, for the UK's participation in the Iraq War. I was like, how can any progressive join the Labour Party? Because it's part of the Iraq War. Tony Blair is not progressive at all, etc., etc. The election of Jeremy Corbyn kind of changed that vision that I had of the Labour Party. However, and I'm going to be honest, and I've publicly said this. I publicly said this at that time. I was not happy with the way Jeremy Corbyn was responding to the media attacks on him. I felt as though he could do better. Although he represented all the values and all the politics that I believe in, I just felt as though, you know what, is this guy going to change? Like, it's been 6 months since he's become labeled. The constant attacks on the of the media, anybody would have changed by now. But a year later, I realized that, hold on, this guy's not changing. He's not counteracting anything. He's not really doing anything to kind of fight back against the media. But this guy's got Teflon vest, man. He's not changing. I was like, you know what? I've got to join the Labour Party. Now, this guy, he's gone through a year of constant barrage attacks. He's still sticking to his principles. And I just, you know what? Politically, I just fell in love with the guy. Seriously. And I thought, you know what? I'm joining the Labour Party. And when I joined, that's when I found out. That's when I really saw, hold on, there's more people. There's more people like me in the Labour Party. It's more organized. It's, obviously because it's a mainstream party. It's better funded than the Green Party. It's more organized, and there's a lot of people like me in it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think I found my political home now. So that was literally my journey in the Labour Party. So it kind of started from 2016 onwards, really.
Oh, thank you for that. So, you brought up that you've been campaigning on Palestine. What other campaigns have you been working on lately?
So, well, not lately. So lately, it's been more kind of Labour Party centric, as you know, and I'll explain that
Yeah.
later. But really, apart from Palestine, I got involved in a lot of Muslim community issues.
Nice.
A lot of issues to do with like Islamophobia and stuff. But I would say the other organization that I helped out in was the campaign against the arms trade. Um, that organization I thought is a very important organization. But what joined me to what kind of converted me to that cause was Andrew Feinstein's book, The Shadow World Inside the Global Arms Trade. Now, like as part of my learning, I was learning about different issues, and I thought, and I went into Waterstones one day, and I thought, you know what, I don't know much about the arms trade, so let me just get. I came across this book, The Shadow World Inside the Global Arms Trade, read the back of it, and I thought, okay, you know what, seems pretty decent, seems pretty like informative. Let me buy it. I bought it, and I could not put that book down. Literally, I was shocked by a lot of the stuff that he kind of highlighted and kind of exposed, and what especially what the arms companies done in Iraq and how they're supporting oppressive regimes abroad. And I just thought, oh, this is a progressive issue as well. So by the end of it, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm joining campaign against the arms trade. So I joined and literally started attending their meetings. There was some kind of demonstrations that I took part in as well. And, we kind of took part in some disruptive events, which were really fun as well. Like you had arms trade dinners, which we would kind of go and disrupt. We would really, really shout at the arms dealers that were going in and out the event and stuff like that. And I think the one that I remember was I think was it the I can't remember which museum it was, but there was a museum that was kind of being sponsored by an arms company. And we kind of literally went into that museum and literally went up and put our we had kind of banners and all that kind of stuff, stop the arms trade up. We kind of literally put our banners up and everything, and we got chased out by security, security and stuff like that. But we were doing things like that. And then obviously then you have the annual kind of, Stop the Arms Fair kind of festival that happens when the kind of dicey arms fair that happens. So we were taking part in that as well. I performed for some of those as well. So Campaign Against the Arms Trade is another organization that I was heavily involved in as well. But really, it was really like the Palestine activism, being involved in the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, for example, and Campaign Against the Arms Trade. And also the Islamic Human Rights Commission, I was helping them out as well with a lot of things, with a lot of their campaigns and stuff like that. So those were the key main things that I was doing. And then the Labour Party just came up. And that's when I started campaigning for the Labour Party. But also, I just want to say that I was also like engaged in spoken word as well, like a spoken word performer as well. So a lot of my kind of political beliefs and a lot of my political opinions would go on to influence my spoken word material as well. So I was, I'd perform, I'd come up with videos, and in those performances, I'd take part in charity events where I would perform political and social stuff. But at the same time, after the performance, I'd have like an extra 30 seconds to talk to people about politics and all this kind of stuff as well. Hopefully, you're winning some new converts over to the cause. So I was really engaged in those kind of things as well. So those were kind of the main things I was engaged in until the Labour Party became a site of resistance. Let's put it that way.
So you've brought up the Labour Party and, fighting for anti-racism. Could you tell me any experiences that you may have had or you have heard of that's been happening in the Labour Party?
Yeah, so you know what? It's been strange. For me, it's been a positive one, but it's been a very strange one because even in the Corbyn years, you have a left-wing activist, a leader now. You have a left-wing leader, but even with a left-wing leader, you see how power structures work, and how the right worked in silencing and in trying to silence debate about progressive issues, even with a left-wing Labour Party leader. So that was very, very interesting. And I remember during the even the months leading up to the campaign of January 2019, of the 2019 election, our CLP, Harrow East, is a left-wing CLP, but even we were told to be silent on some issues by some other progressives. So we couldn't talk about Kashmir, we couldn't talk about Palestine, we couldn't talk about any of that stuff. So I was like, you know what, I can, instead of being silent on these issues, we need to engage, we need to debate, we need to kind of engage with people on these issues. But we couldn't do that. We were told to be silent, and even our prospective parliamentary candidate, who is a progressive and who is left wing, she kind of preferred if we didn't talk about these issues as well. So again, I felt silenced. Again, like people of color, Kashmir, Palestine, all these other issues. There was a silencing going on, even amongst our own, because we wanted to win the general election. So we were, during that period, we were silent on these issues. Afterwards, though, after that period, I was determined. I was like, you know what? Now, no more silencing at all. Now, as long as I'm in the party, I'm going to talk about these issues as much as I can, literally on my social media. And as you know, people are self-censoring because of what's going on in the Labour Party on their social media. I'm of the opinion that, look, if you're educated about the issue, if you can articulate yourself very well, go for it. Literally, do not self-censor. Do not use language that will create kind of create fear and hatred. But and do not use dehumanizing language. I don't agree with any of that. But don't self-censor at all. Win people over to your cause. Talk about it. So that's basically, in a way, that's my experience. And even for example, from higher ups. But even with this silencing, for me, it's kind of doubled. I've kind of not kind of censored, but I've kind of got doubled down on my politics. Like literally, I've kind of really, really amped myself up to speak about it even more. And in our kind of let's just say in our kind of CLP, I do have individuals who are kind of opposed to the left wing. And funny, this is not funny, but before I became active, there were people who were censoring. Like literally, I told you, there were people who won't speak about certain issues online, and there were left-leaning people, there were left-wing people, but they did not want to, they feared the right wing in a local kind of branch, right? I kind of blew that out of the water. Literally, I would not stop talking about it. I would not stop posting about it. Even on our group, our Facebook group, I would post about Palestine, I would post about socialist stuff, post about just anything and everything. And I remember one of the people who I won't kind of refer to, I won't even imply who he was. He had a powerful position within our CLP prior to me joining. And I was posting progressive stuff on there. And I remember I posted something about Margaret Hodge, MP. Her family had a company that was profiting off South African apartheid, right? So I posted an article on there highlighting this, and all I said was, I hope none of our current MPs are profiting of any form of oppression or justice or injustice. And this person replied back saying, "You're getting too close. I'm going to monitor you." And I'm just like, yeah, you know what? Bring it. And he hasn't followed through. There's nothing that they can do because I'm posting from actual credible sources, and I make it clear that I'm against all forms of racism and all forms of discrimination. This is something that we need to make sure that we challenge whenever it raises ugly head, right? So I made it clear that I'm against this as well, but speaking up for Palestinian rights. So all of that for me, it's been a weird experience because again we're challenging the silencing from the left, and let's make it clear, there has been forms of, let's just say, left-wing kind of racism as well. We're not going to deny that. That's been very, very hard to challenge, but it's because it's very awkward. But we've done that, and right-wing as well. And I'm of the opinion that, look, I'm in the Labour Party. I'm a performance poet. I'm an activist. I'm going to speak about my politics and my beliefs in all of these values. And in the Labour Party, like, if they want to kick me out because of my values, then they're going to have to put in the work. They're going to have to send me the letter. They're going to have to, someone's going to have to type up the stuff, waste their money, waste kind of energy on sending me the thing and go through the whole process. I'm not just going to handing my resignation, give them the easy ride. They want me out. They're going to have to go through the effort. They're going to have to fight to get me out, because I see the Labour Party as a site of resistance now, just like everywhere else. And I'm not going out without a fight. So my experience of the Labour Party has been progressive, has been great. I've met so many comrades and like itself. But at the same time, there is this fight, there is this tension, and it's a tension that we can win, but we have to be prepared. And the best thing about the Corbyn era, unfortunately, is that we now know what tricks that they will play. There's nothing that they can do now. Hopefully there will be another socialist leader, but this time we'll be better prepared. And the best thing is the left as a whole we might be not as prepared in the Labour Party, but as a whole, we're in a better position than we were before, than we were 10 years ago. We've never had platforms like Socialist Telly. We never had platforms like other platforms like Novara Media, Galdem, and all these other, Squawk Box and all these other platforms, right? We never had these platforms. We got them now. And our job is to make sure that these platforms kind of represent our values from our perspective, but at the same time, we support them to challenge the mainstream. And that's the other important thing. The other thing that I kind of learned in the Labour Party and also in the Corbyn era is that supposed mainstream left-wing publications, like certain publications, aren't left-wing at all. And you had the chance to actually select a left-wing socialist leader as the prime minister, but you came out with the same barrage of attacks day after day. Certain left-wing people as well, who claim to be anti-racist and internationalist, but they came out with the same kind of things as well. Oh, Jeremy's a this, that, he's a racist. And it just kind of shows that, these mainstream media outlets aren't left-wing as well. So our job, for me, like the way I see it is, we need to boycott these kind of institutions, these mainstream institutions, not pay for them at all, to make sure we're not financially paying for them at all. But at the same time, we need to support, a new up-and-coming new media as well. That's the way to challenge the mainstream media, support new up-and-coming media, and Socialist Telly is definitely is one of them that we need to support.
Thank you, mate. So, obviously the experiences of some ethnic minorities haven't been great. What do you think is the best way forward for ethnic minorities in the Labour Party now? What do you believe the Labour leadership should do to improve experiences for ethnic minorities?
Well, as you know, because of the Ford report and the delay of the Ford report and all that kind of stuff, the Labour leadership have come up with a set of guidelines, representation committees and stuff like that. But it sounds like it sounds very corporate, if you know what I mean. This is like the way corporate people deal with quote unquote diversity, which is have these kind of networks and consultations and all that kind of stuff. Which on the periphery sounds great, but really you could tell that, what happens is that once these ideas get filtered up, once these ideas go up this funnel, right, they get filtered down until a more kind of compliant kind of form of diversity comes about from it. I generally think that literally more people like us, like Andrea, like yourself, other people, we ourselves with our own ideas need to become councillors, we need to become MPs, We have some great MPs within the socialist campaign, like Zara Sultana, Apsana Begum, Bel Ribeiro, Adi, and all these other people. But we need to make sure that there's more of us, and that's the thing. If the PLP represented more of our ideas, then the whole Labour Party will change. But unfortunately, you got issues of racism, you got the climate catastrophe as well. Time really isn't on our side. We have to work. We have to really put in the work. And also, again, like with my experience on the Labour Party and with my experience of the general election in 2019, not everyone has been won over to our cause. And that's the problem. And this is why, like, institutions like yourself, Novara Media, and all these other institutions, news media institutions, are very important to support and make sure that we grow, because these media outlets will serve as like a megaphone, right? They will serve as institutions to educate the general public about socialist ideas, anti-racist ideas. I believe that, look, at the end of the day, the British people are generally good people. They mean well. There's nothing wrong with just wanting people to mind their own business, and you just want to live 9 to 5, whatever, right? But at the same time, if we want a government that represents us and represents that really means well for the British people and the world, we need the British people, we need the rest of society to really be won over to these ideas. We might not get them, a lot of them might be on A, right? They might not be on Z, but the most we can do is get them to F, G, H. Get them on that journey. Then they're not where we are, but we need to get them on that journey. And basically, outlets such as like yourself play a pivotal role, because what you can do is what you're doing right now, like have shows, have interviews, have creative ways of kind of disseminating progressive ideas, socialist ideas to the public, get them thinking. So hopefully in the next 10 years, we will have a lot of people who are socialists on the left wing. And therefore, by having a lot more people like us, hopefully the political parties will be more representative. And hopefully this time or next time around, we will be able to fight against the mainstream and against the elite. And the best thing is that, now, for example, this football issue that's come up, with the Super League issue that's come up, right? People are talking about power. People are talking about the elite. People are talking about the rich getting richer. These are good access points for us to come in and say, and give them a good political analysis, and hopefully win some people over to our cause. So these are the things. And you know what? I'm sorry, I kind of like, I think I kind of forgot the question. But the thing is this is the thing. It's like, what we are doing right now is important, because we are setting up the platform for not just the left to survive, but also for it to grow. We are laying the seeds for the future generations to learn from. And hopefully they will pick up the mantle and literally save the planet. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, so that's all good to hear, and that was fantastic. But my question is, are you standing for council then?
Oh, yeah, yes.
So you think you're getting away with it, yeah? Are you standing?
That's the plan. That's definitely the plan. I do have those.
That's really, really good to hear. So when are your selections coming up then?
I think they're coming up next year. I can't really recall the dates from my memory, but they're definitely coming up next year. But I've definitely signed up to all the training programs and all that kind of stuff.
I'll come and canvas for you. I'll come and canvas for you.
Definitely, you know what? I'm gonna come on canvas for you as well. We need to get you into to become a candidate as well, and become a councillor as well. And that's the thing, because, like, yes, we're putting our name down, but I'm not going to hide from the fact that it's not going to be an easy ride. It is going to be, it's going to be a very tough ride. But if you're I believe that, look, if you're a fighter, if you believe in what you believe in and you're willing to fight for it, then you're going to have to fight for it. And nothing good comes free. Nothing good comes easy. You know, only bad stuff comes from doing nothing. You know, good stuff is worth fighting for. And that's why it is important to become councillor, and for us to become councillors, and not just councillors, MPs, and really not just MPs, but, you know, when the next round of, you know, leadership things come up, our boys better be in there. Like, literally, I want to see Belvir Adi, I want to see Zara Sultana, I want to see Afsana Begum, you know, Sam Terry, all these other people put their names down to become Labour leader, because we need progressive individuals. We need progressive anti-racist internationalists to become Labour leader, because let's be honest, people who are on the left, people who are socialists, I believe that they generally care a lot more about people, you know. They care a lot more about people than people who are centrists, or definitely on the right. So we need a Labour leader, and hopefully this will inspire not just progressives just within the Labour Party, but other political parties as well. Other political parties. If we had all the political parties have have leadership, who have people in power who are socialists, left-leaning, who are willing to fight for the common good, problem solved. Really, that's really half the problem solved. That's great. What's happening now is we're trying to stop things from getting worse. That's the competition, stopping things from getting worse. I want us to compete in doing better, like literally doing better, be more anti-racist, be more pro kind of nationalization of our public services, you know, saving the NHS, all that kind of stuff. That's what I want. Now, you know, I feel as though we do have a lot of good people as councillors, but they're not really the people who are the majority don't really represent me, you know. And I'm of the opinion that, look, no one's going to say what you believe. No one's going to represent your opinions 100%. The only person that's going to do it is yourself. So literally, if you want your opinions to be heard in the corridors of power, then you need to be in there in a way that doesn't compromise you. And one of the things that I believe won't compromise you is if you stick to your politics, if you stick to your activism while working your way up. Because while you're doing all that, while you're working your way up, you don't give yourself a chance to be compromised. Literally, you've kind of you've kind of created that image of yourself now. You've kind of lived it. You'll be less likely to be compromised. So I want more people, and that's why I put my name down as a councillor. I want to do good to my local community as well. I want good progressive policies around Harrow, where I live. And I'm sure you want the same thing as well for your local area, you know? So this is why it's important that we become councillors and we take positions of power within the Labour Party for the general good, because we want the general good for the people, and we also want our voices and the voices of the people to be represented, and there's no one that can do it better than yourself.
Yeah, it's true. I think, you know, yeah, I am running for council and stuff. I just want to make this clear for the world to know. I will never, ever run to be an MP, and I will never, ever run for any of these high positions.
You know what? I want to ask you a question now. Why not? Why not?
No, I just don't want to. I just don't want to be an MP, mate. Like, it's just not for me. I don't want to be in that circle, to be honest. I would rather fight locally. I do campaign nationally anyway, so it's, you know, like, it wouldn't make a huge difference to me apart from the pay pack, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just not for me, and I will never ever run for those things. And, you know, any of these high positions in the Labour Party, any of these positions in Momentum,
Yeah.
I'm not involved. I don't mind the campaigning side of it. Like, I love organising. That's all I want to do. That's what I'm passionate about. Working with the community and just being in the community with the people, man. That's all I care about, to be honest. I'm not bothered about having a higher status in society and mingling with them type of people. That's just not who I am. I'm more about my people, you're more likely to see me with a dog walker than you are to see me in Westminster. So that's just who I am, and that's the way I want things to
Yeah,
be, you know.
I
Um,
totally understand. Totally
so
understand.
yeah, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, I've worked with plenty of MPs. You know what I mean? It's not that I have anything against MPs. I've worked with the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, the Green Party. You know, I've worked
Right.
with these MPs just through work, and at the end of the day, that is just not the lifestyle that I want to get into. I'm fine being with my community, man, and I'm always going to fight for Wandsworth and beyond, and that's just how I want to do my activism. But I am looking forward to the West Putney selections, and hopefully I make it through, and we take on the Tories and batter them.
So when
So,
will your kind of campaigning and canvassing for you happen then?
well, well, we've got through the first stage, and so I'm on the selection panel at the moment, and then we're going to go to the branch stage after the May election. So I don't know if that's going to be in June or
Right.
July. And yeah, we then find
Definitely
out if
gonna
we're
support
running
you.
in our ward. So
I could
hopefully I
support you.
get onto it. If I don't, I'll still campaign. But like, yeah, I would like to get onto it and fight for my people then, man. Do you know
That's
what I mean?
good to hear. That's I totally understand. You know what?
Yeah.
We have to do what we can to come down and
Yeah,
support you.
exactly. Like I'll fight for people to become an MP and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I'll fight for someone else to do it. I just don't want to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I just feel that yeah, being a councillor would benefit me more. And
Yeah.
yeah, I want to fight for the local people, man.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? If I could just come, I think for me, it's like I wouldn't like. For example, I've been told by people like, listen, you should get jobs in Parliament and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, no, I don't want any of those kind of jobs. I want nothing to do with that institution because of you know people that buy into that kind of lifestyle. They go, you know, they kind of get disconnected from the community and stuff like that. But it's like I'm not gonna lie. If I I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of the stuff I hear from MPs just gets me really angry, and I'm just like, you know, and it's not just here. I'm gonna be honest, like even in the States, some of the stuff that certain progressives are doing, it just gets me really mad. It just gets me really, really mad. Like, you know, in the States, you had the forced to vote thing about Medicare and the progressives pushing back on that. And I'm just like, you know, what is happening to people? Seriously. It's like people who are genuinely progressives are in the minority. And that's in the UK as well. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, if I could become an MP, then I would, because I want more people. I literally want my opinions to be in there. I'm not part of that. I don't want to be part of it, but you know, if I can't like be frustrated at MPs anymore, like, I got to do something about this. The
Yeah.
MPs, the PLP has to change. It has to change. And one of the things is that you know, like for example, the Labour Representation Committee, for example, it's got its flaws, but what it means is it has good principles, like you know, uniting, basically connecting the PLP with kind of activist groups and organizations and stuff like that, giving them a bigger voice. I think that's the most important thing, really. Those groups should be more in there, more in those halls to make sure that, like, you know, their opinions, the opinions of their constituents are heard. And I think for me, like, if I were to be an MP, one of the things I would fight for is like, you know, you have PMQs, like you have MPs and PMQs. I think there should be a section for campaigning groups in there as well, literally in there as well. And for me, if I could just recall, so when Corbyn became Labour leader, and you had the debate for renewing Trident come up, and obviously Corbyn opposed that. But what was beautiful about that was like the demonstrations that were happening outside of the Houses of Parliament, and I have to be honest, some of us were inside as well, the Houses of Parliament as well. So we were actually in the glove box, whatever, shouting and you know all that kind of stuff. But I'm thinking we like those groups need to be in the halls as well. Literally need to be in the halls, in where the MPs sit, literally, and are given the chance to ask direct questions to the Prime Minister. And if I was like, you know, hopefully I'll stick to this. Like, I'm not sure what I'm going to be like in 10 years' time, but now it's like that's the type of setup I want to see. That's the type of setup I want to see. And that's the important thing. Why aren't things changing? We have to look at why things are not changing and how to make them change. Because if you look at society now, we have technologically things have changed. You know, we have changed the way we do things. Why is Parliament still stuck in that same way of doing things for? It's got to change. We've got to have more representative people in the PMQs in there asking those questions and working to change the system. So, you know, be independent from the system, but working to change it so that it represents, you know, people better. And that's what's gonna gonna have to happen. So it's very important that I totally understand why you said that, like, you know, why you wouldn't want to be part of that. But me just hearing constant stuff of how things aren't progressing, how things, you know, even some of the moves that progressive people are making, which is kind of, you know, kind of in a slow manner, it's just getting me so irate. So I'm just like, you know what, need more people. And you know, if I could change your mind about being an MP, I would definitely change your mind, because I think we need more people like yourself in there.
Oh, bless you, man. No, you're never going to change my mind. My mind's made up on that. But finally, my friend, what are you going to be up to, you know, in the future? What's your future plans?
Definitely have a long-term plans for the Labour Party. Literally stay in the Labour Party, campaign and become councillors and get into higher positions within the Labour Party, but also do my best to change the Labour Party. So for example, what I just said, like, you know, that's the type of like PMQs that I want to see. Like, literally have representatives from activist groups in the PMQs and in the halls of power, voicing those opinions and changing things from within. Definitely, obviously, we've got stuff locally. I want to, I help out several mutual aid groups. I want to strengthen them as well. But also at the same time, you know, I haven't said this at all, like that much, you know, over here. I'm a spoken word artist as well. So definitely I want to come up with some more politically charged spoken word poems, do some events, videos as well. I've got some videos on YouTube. If you type in Mizan the Poet, all the videos will come up. I've got videos on Palestine, on political and other social issues as well. Want to come up with a lot more stuff, and I really just want to use creativity as a way of educating the general public about socialist ideas, about anti-racist ideas, internationalist ideas, while at the same time, me, myself, I'm campaigning within my political groups, within the Labour Party. So not just talk about it, but live it as well, you know, at the same time. So that's my plans. That's my goals. How? I'm not sure. But obviously the Labour Party, definitely part of it. And as you know, as long as I'm part of the Labour Party, I will always be campaigning locally within the Labour Party as well. So that's kind of like the gist of what I have in mind for now.
Oh, nice one. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. And we're definitely going to have you back on to hear more about your spoken word work and what you will be up to in the future. So thanks a lot for coming. I'm now going to... No, thank you.
And, you know, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best, and we will support you 100%.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Great, thank you, Andrea. Mizan, always good to hear you. To hear about your work is even more interesting. Not even more interesting. Obviously, your poetry is fantastic, inspiring. But as an artist, to see how you are both an artist and an activist, and how you're bringing that together, fantastic. It's inspiring me to share more of my work as an artist. So, without further ado, let's bring in some of the updates of we've got out on social media. So I'm just going to go through the last 3 posts that we put out on Instagram. Everybody knows we're also on Facebook and Twitter. Our handles will go out with the show. I know these guys are great at doing that as it goes out. Right, here we are on, I think you can all see that. Yes. So this is our Instagram account. So what have we been looking at? So there's a couple of campaigns that we've been supporting as Labour Black Socialists up here in the north. There's the No Police in Schools campaign. Really worth checking that out if you're in the northwest, because we're talking about what's happening in schools in Manchester, but we know that rollout. We know it's a problem that's across the whole country. We're looking at why aren't schools being properly resourced so it's teachers or people with expertise in terms of challenging behaviour with young people, and not the police who don't have that training or experience, who need to be looking at behaviour issues of young people. And, you know, particularly from young people from communities where policing is already a challenge, and we're already tackling sort of institutionalised racism within the police. To start that with young people in school, we think is intolerable. So check out that campaign. Hopefully we'll be looking at that in more detail. So one of the organisations that we support as Labour Black Socialists are the Socialist Education Association. There's often a lot of crossover with our membership and that. And they are putting on an event. It happens with the Greater Manchester branch, but it's open to everyone, and it's looking at tackling racism in the education system. So I sort of have focused on education. I think it's really important. It's vital for us to look at. It's one of the things that I think we need to highlight when we look at challenging Kill the Bill, in terms of when does this stop in terms of this government's impact on us and our freedoms. They'd already started with things like not trying to outlaw the teaching of socialism in our schools. Anyway, let's look at that. And then finally, we've got a post so that if you want to come out and find out more about Mizan the Poet, and this is a screenshot from his Instagram account of the amazing rally that many of you were at, Andrea was at, and that Mizan performed at. So that's a really quick roundup. It's just really wanting to see the breadth of things that you can get involved in to support the campaign for an actively anti-racist Labour Party. Thank you. Back over to you, Andrea.
Thank you, Akua, and thank you everyone for joining us this week. We will see you next week for another brilliant show. Take care.
Take care. Bye. If you would like to do that, Andrea.
Oh, Lord.
Wrong one. Oh dear. So while we're waiting for my screen share, yeah, hi.
I'm so sorry.
Right. I don't know what I was going to do.